Going live. Okay. How's our audio levels look, Christine? Testing 1, 2, 3. Audio levels look good on the broadcaster. Testing 1, 2, 3. 2. Sounds good now? All right. Good evening and welcome to the Arundel Camera Club meeting for Thursday, November 3rd. My name is John Milliker and I'm the club president for the 2022-2023 season. The Arundel Camera Club was founded in 1957 and exists to promote the art, science, and education in all aspects and fields of photography. For more information about us, please visit www.arundelcameraclub.org. We are so happy that we're now meeting in person and online. If you are local to Anne Arundel County, Maryland, we encourage you to visit us at the Severna Park Baptist Church, located at 506 Benfield Road, Severna Park, Maryland, where we meet every Thursday except for the second Thursday, which is our digital contest. Before we move to tonight's program, do we have any announcements from our officers? No announcements. I know Ed's got one, but we'll get Ed up here when we talk about the schedule. Do we have any MPA announcements? Ron's not here. Nobody has announcements for him. What's that, Fred? Coffee and cookies are over there. Welcome to enjoy that. And for our upcoming schedule, I'm going to turn it over to Christine with Christine Milliker, our programs chair. Christine, let us know what's going on. Then you can introduce our program speaker for tonight.
Yep. Good evening. Next week on November 10th is our digital open contest, which will be done on Facebook. So we'll be done virtually. On November 17th is our color monochrome print contest, also with the theme of open. On the 19th is our field trip to the Stephen F. Udvar Hazy Center. Ed, do you want to come talk about that?
This is going to be an exciting day, and you have to mark your calendars. They're open from 10 to 5. Where are they? They're located near the Dulles Airport. So what can you do when you're there? Well, they have all kind of exhibitions, spaceships, and all kind of aircraft. And I live on Belanca Drive, and there's a little street near me, Stearman's Court, and the builder flew his own airplane. And I found those 2 airplanes there last time I was there, so it's really nice. How about if they actually have exhibitions where you can take a roll, a 360-degree roll? You can actually do that. And they have lectures there, and they also have an IMAX theater, where they have a lot of different shows. And it's free. It's $15 cost for parking your car. And they have an observation tower where you can go up to the tower and you can take movies or pictures of the planes coming in and out of the airport. So anyway, it's going to be a wonderful time. I'd like to meet. We could meet about 11 o'clock in the morning. We'll get together and have a wonderful time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ed. On November 24th, there will be no meeting because it is Thanksgiving, so we will all be celebrating with our families. And then on December 1st is a program by our very own Bob Weber on glass. Now I would like to introduce our speaker for tonight. Jonathan Newton is entering his 36th season as a professional photographer. He joined the staff of the Washington Post in the summer of 2000. He started out at the Nashville Banner in 1986. After a little more than a year at the Banner, he moved to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, where he spent 10 years shooting assignments that included the Atlanta Braves. He joined the St. Petersburg Times, and in 1996, when the town I can't even read my own handwriting, sorry, landed an expansion baseball team. Come on up, Jonathan.
Okay.
And I'll turn the program over to you.
Thank you so much. I'm wired, so I don't need that, right?
Sorry.
Hey, I'm wireless. So, hey, thank you all. I'm Jonathan Newton and an Anne Arundel County resident. I live up in Pasadena. And I moved here in 2000, but I lived down in Crofton for a while, but we got rid of the house with stairs and moved to a one level up in Pasadena. So It's good to be here, and I'm going to go through a bunch of pictures and talk about what I do, and being a staff photographer for the Washington. We're getting a lot of. Am I standing in the wrong place?
Yeah, right there.
Right there? Okay. Okay. What if I move to the computer?
You can, yeah.
Let's try that. Are we getting feedback now? So anyway, with newspaper photography, it's always doing something new, fresh, different, and always kind of learning and trying new things and trying not to be a one-trick pony. So, our job as photographers is to, all pictures are informational, right? They have information. It's the subject. But what our job is to make an informational picture graphically appealing. And so you use the graphical elements of composition to build your picture. And then you hope you add another layer, and that's emotion. And so you have an informational picture that's graphically appealing and then emotional. And then the top picture is intimate. So if you have an informational picture that's graphically appealing, emotional, and intimate, winner, winner, chicken dinner. So, but anyway, so I'm just going to go through a whole lot of stuff here. This is moonrise at Fort Smallwood Park. So, I wanted to go see what the moon looked like, and I took a big telephoto lens. And it ended up that the 24 was sort of my favorite kind of scene from there. So when they wired the Capitol, I had to go make an informational picture that's graphically appealing. There's no, I guess this does evoke some emotion and no intimacy. Okay. The night before the inauguration, they're lighting up the mall. So it's an informational picture that's graphically appealing. Here's your new president, Joe Biden, leaving the Oval Office, heading towards the helicopter. That's him. No Secret Service, no. And it's just the beautiful time of day. Yes. I have a hard pass to go into the White House, yes. And that's all due to COVID. Because when COVID shut down sports, what do they do with me? So I don't have any sports to cover. And I don't know if I said, I do, the majority of what I do is sports. But I'll do anything. I'll shoot anything. They call me and that's it. But I spent a lot of time at the White House during... So here's an informational picture that's graphically appealing, and you're using light to create a mood, the emotion. Downtown Annapolis, snowing. That's just, that's Main Street. Spring training. My grandson's birthday party. She wasn't having it. So when COVID came back, or when the COVID restrictions were being lifted, they were like, head down to where people gather. And so this is at the National Harbor down in Prince George's County, and that's the awakening. And so getting an informational picture and making it graphically appealing and having the kids running around, and it's just, it just kind of feels like a reawakening from COVID, because this, everybody had been locked down for so long. A lot of times what we have to do too is portraiture with lighting, and I'm not the best. Annie Leibovitz is probably, comes to mind as one of the great lighters of all times. Obviously, Karsh, Yusuf Karsh, his stuff is amazing. So, but what I try to do is learn, and what I call increasing your visual IQ. And by studying other photographs and other photographers and trying to figure out what lens they used, what sort of lighting style. And, did they use a softbox? Is it harsh? Is it all these things? So I try to study it so my visual IQ is raised. And when I go into a situation, I'm able to bring that to the forefront and execute in a timely manner. Because a lot of times things happen so fast. So this is the funeral for Senator Bob Dole. And we are on the rose balcony there in the National Cathedral. And I missed this picture at Senator McCain's funeral. And I wanted to, and so when Senator Dole died, I was able to get that. Just a Navy game. The kids were having more fun. It was more interesting. Well, I spent more time photographing these kids than I did the game. I cover a lot of Washington Capitals. And again, portraiture. This is Tom Wilson, the enforcer. So I took a locker room and I used a blue gel to get emotion. And then I used a front light on him and had him pose. Everybody remember when the tornado went through Annapolis last year? Down West Street? Peak action. High school stuff. Again, informational picture that's graphically appealing, and this carries a lot of emotion. So this is, to me, a winner. Yep, everybody knows where this is. Good old Navy. This is Preakness, the first Preakness after they allowed fans back, but they were social distancing the fans. So all the seats had to be, and so how was I to say, how do I build a picture to tell the story? And that's what I'm trying to do, is build that picture to say, okay, we have social distancing, but we're still here to have a good time. And when the woman came through with the hat, I was just, yay, yay. And I did. I ran downstairs and got her name and where she was from. Okay, so here's the thing in photography, how one thing leads to another. So I was so excited about the solar eclipse. I don't know, nature photography and all that stuff, that's kind of a hobby of mine outside of the newspaper stuff. Sorry, I'm going to get my water. So anyway, I was really interested, and so I went to, am I blocking it? Sorry. So I went to all these NASA press conferences about the upcoming solar eclipse, and I found out the totality, the longest totality in the United States was going to be in this town called Hopkinsville, Kentucky. And I'm a Kentucky native. So I was just like, so I started preparing, 8 months before the eclipse, trying to learn how to shoot it. And I booked my plane ticket, got down to Hopkinsville, not knowing that everybody in the free world had prepared and taken every hotel room within. So I slept in a sleeping bag in the parking lot of the tattoo parlor. That's where I slept. The glamorous life. And so and they turned their town into Eclipseville. So I'm going to run through a few pictures here. I love that deep fried Snickers. And then they were reducing the Eclipse glasses down to $3. And here comes the crowds. Everybody had their own way of looking at it. And here it starts. And that's totality. So you have a filter in front of your lens, and then when totality comes, you have to take it off and then figure out your exposure. for this. And then so in Hopkinsville, it lasted 4.5 minutes, which is wild. It was the coolest thing I'd ever seen in nature. And these people were just like aghast. And it was so much fun. You could just hear it, you could feel it. And, you talk about emotion. There it was. I love just the kids are just so excited. And I shot this with a 600, obviously a crop, but you can see the solar flares popping out on it. Daddy's welder's glasses. There's the other end of it. Guess what? He proposed during totality. Oh, everybody go, oh. It was so, and so so afterwards I stitched all this together. Here it began, and then it went. So anyway, that assignment was over, and like I said, I'm a sports photographer with the Post. That's, I'd say, 80% of what I do. So I get a call one day from the national business editor, and she says, "Hey, I really liked what you did on the eclipse. Would you be interested in shooting astronauts and space?" I was like, well, I've never done it, but okay. So here it begins. I now do space. And so here is the VAB. So I do a lot of launches, and we were following around commercial crew. We were going to Houston for training, and then COVID hit, right? And so all that is done. But the one thing that happened, they still launched Bob and Doug, the first human launch from Kennedy Space Center in 11 years. The last time they did it was, 12 years now, but was the shuttle. Before, they had been shipping all their astronauts to Russia, and they were going to the space station on Russian rockets. So here comes Bob and Doug. They're coming out. And I mean, so this is the same spot. This is crew quarters. This is where they all came out of. Neil and Buzz and all those people. So it's this historic thing. And there's the final touch. So this is Doug Hurley's son touching his glove. That was, because COVID, you don't want to send COVID up to the space station. So there was a lot of, and here they go. So obviously I wasn't standing here, so I used a remote camera with a sound trigger to fire this camera. So I set it up days before, and there's a sound trigger called a MIOPS, M-I-O-P-S. And you set it to a certain frequency, and when the rocket roars, it'll fire your camera. Amazing, right? And there's another one, tighter. And that's handheld. So I'm on top of the VAB. Remember the first building? So we're 500 feet up in the air. And I really wanted to get the land to show, an expanse of where they're going, leaving Earth. So I shot this with a 105. And here's, so those are, they call it a Falcon 9 because it has 9 engines underneath. And so they're all firing at once. This is a different launch, by the way. So you get a lot of these things on the night launches. It's just a kaleidoscope of things. And so this is what they call a streak shot. So it's probably a 4-minute exposure, f/22 at 100 ISO, and with a 14 millimeter lens, and you get the whole arc of the rocket. And then the blue is the booster returning to Earth, because SpaceX lands their rockets back. So that's what you call a streak shot. And there's Elon Musk celebrating, Bob and Doug. All right, and so during COVID, I had a lot of things to cover. The Black Lives Matter down at the all the daily updates. Everybody remembers Burke's. This is up in Baltimore. Route 50. Don't people wish Route 50 looked like this again? A firehouse in D.C. Doing confessions in the parking lot over in Bowie. Remember that? And they drive up confession, and they were like, "Could you please stay back so you don't hear their sins?" It's like, be glad to. Dr. Fauci throwing out the first pitch when baseball returns. And, they all knelt for the Black Lives Matter. Oh my gosh, I'm Freddie Gray. Not Freddie Gray, the Minnesota. Thank you. And then the new Now, I am not political whatsoever. I just shoot pictures. So if anybody thinks I lean one way or another, no. I just want to get the picture. That's all. Coney Barrett. Yep. Yeah. Sure. No. I don't know how to use a flash. No. Yeah. No. It's all TV light. Yeah. It's all TV light. So the question was, did I use a flash on this picture? And answer is no. No. It was night, and they light these things like crazy. So then election night, not election night, but I guess, because election night, everybody just waited forever, right? Then President Biden getting his first vaccine. There you go. No, I don't put things together. Everything you see is straight out of the camera. What about the lens? 600. Yeah. What kind of lens do I use? The longest I have is a 600, and sometimes I'll put a 1.4 extender on the 6, but not often. I think it falls a little bit. I imagine it's a 4. Yeah. 6.4. Yep. Supreme Court, I do a lot of architecture stuff, especially during COVID, because there was, no traffic. So we use a lot of building pictures. So I went around and just shot pictures, when there's interesting light. They use this a lot for the Supreme Court stories. This is a field off Davidsonville Road, right at Route 50. It looks like somewhere out on the west, but this is Anne Arundel County. Love that field. And then when they opened up the beach for the first time in Ocean City, DC, opening back up, shushing the press. So this was an interesting assignment. This is the Arctic Circle, and this is the Brooks Mountain Range, and we are, I don't know how many miles we are from nowhere, but this lake doesn't freeze anymore in the Arctic Circle. So I went up with 9 scientists for 10 days into the Arctic Circle to study why this lake doesn't freeze anymore. And they're still studying it, whether it's, a methane crack in the Earth's surface or whatever. But again, it's an informational picture trying to make it graphically appealing with light and sun and time of day. Milky Way. So when I shoot Milky Way, I shoot 25 seconds, because if you go longer than that, your stars are going to streak. Okay, so 25 seconds at 2.8 at 8,000 ISO. That's generally what I do. So who said they loved Yellowstone? Ed? Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So this is a herd of buffalo along the Lamar Valley. And when I was a teenager, I worked at the Old Faithful Inn, and I cleaned the kitchen after it closed at night. It was one of my greatest jobs ever, but I go back all the time. The Grand Prismatic. Yep, that's in Paradise Valley. I can see why they call it Paradise Valley. But that's Immigrant Peak with the moon rising. And this is family vacation. We love to go to the Upper Peninsula in Michigan. And just down on the mall this is before one of my basketball games. And so I just went down on the mall because I knew, I saw this beautiful sunset coming. And so that's the old Smithsonian Tower. Plane coming in. Again, Michigan. And that's the cabin we stay in. It doesn't have electricity. But that's candlelight and the stars. Yep. So I love to do nature photography. And here's a bunch of people looking for bears. So this is my son, my oldest son. When he was getting married, instead of, I took him out. He and I went on a bachelor trip. I wasn't but we did a trip to Yellowstone, and we're looking at bears eating a bison. And here's our little vacation spot up in Michigan. There's my family. That was my dog, Petey. Yeah, we had to put him down 13 years, and I miss him every day. His job was to get the paper. Yeah. So there's a plane landing at Reagan. I'm kind of all over the place here, but that just sort of shows you a basis of what I do. I don't try to stick to one thing. I try to explore everything and be excited and learn new things. Because, I've never shot a rocket launch before in my life. And so, I started researching, and I'd call a bunch of photographers and just say, hey, you've been shooting rockets forever. What do I do? And there's no harm in that. So, when I was 14, I grew up in Louisville. I think I was 13 or 14. Muhammad Ali's mom lived near us. And one day I went to the theater, and there he was walking out. And he put his hand on my head, and he had the biggest hands of any human I've ever seen. But anyway, I like this because photography is about what's inside of you. And it's your communication to the world. It's you telling the story and then other people reacting to it. And so, it's deep inside you, the desire, the dream, and the vision. And so that's what photographers should bring to the world, is their vision. So that's why I like this quote. And then, this is the Olympics. There is so much competition in sports photography. You think? And every one of these photographers is trying to figure out why Michael Phelps is so fast. Well, I'm going to show you. It's the shoes. So he would train in Chuck Taylors. He would swim laps in Chuck Taylors, and the shoes would fill with water. And he would sit there and paddle and paddle and paddle for hours on end. And then when he took the shoes off, it was just like, holy cow. So there it is. And I go back to what I said about visual IQ, right? So I studied, this is the first sports photograph to ever win the Pulitzer Prize, Nate Fine. He won the Pulitzer Prize for Babe Ruth's retirement. And so when baseball came back to Washington, I knew I wanted to shoot this picture. So I needed to get in position to shoot that picture. When Frank Robinson came to be introduced as when baseball first came back, I had to be there. And that's visual IQ and studying old things and making them new. Does that make any sense? Okay. So it's prepared, being prepared. And so this past year, Hank Aaron died. And I was watching the wires, and this picture came up, and it was President Clinton at the coffin. And I looked, and it was like there was a picture above the coffin. It was this. It was mine. Yeah, the Baseball Hall of Fame and his family chose this picture to be above his coffin. Out of the millions of photographs that Hank Aaron had taken of him, they chose mine to be at his coffin. So I shot this on the 25th anniversary of him breaking Babe Ruth's record. So it was a real simple set, one light, boom, and I think I had maybe 25, 30 seconds. I think I shot 4 or 5 frames. That was it. But that was quite an honor for me. Mike Tyson in an alley in Phoenix, Arizona, feeding his pigeons. Does everybody know the legend of Mike Tyson? And the first time he got in a fight was over his pigeons. Somebody killed one of his pigeons, and he's raised pigeons his whole life. And so his last fight was in Washington, D.C. at the, whatever you call it now, Capital One, Verizon, MCI Center. It changes names every 4 minutes. So anyway, we went out and did a story on Mike, training for what turned out to be his last fight. And while we were there, I asked him, I said, Mike, you got your pigeons? He's like, yeah. He said, I'm gonna go work them out after I work out. And I said, can I come? He's like, yeah, sure. So me, Mike Tyson, and his pigeons walking down this random alley in Phoenix. That's my favorite fishing picture. That's my favorite baseball picture. This is Josh Hamilton. He was a first-round draft pick, and he was potty training his daughter. Josh's story was sort of tragic. He got addicted to drugs, and it ruined his baseball career. He was a first-round, can't-miss kid, and after he got clean, he met this young lady, and they got married and had a family. And so he got it together. And you just never know when a no-legged man is going to walk out of the Hard Times Cafe. George Washington's basketball team training. That's a basketball picture. Swimming. The Russell boys from District Heights. They were Olympians. Gary was going to be a can't-miss gold medal, but he got to Beijing and he was overweight. And so he put on plastic bags and went running in the Beijing air and nearly killed him. And he never fought in the Olympics. It was a tragic story. Again, lighting. So I have to be able to light, do portraits. This is Olympic portrait time. So this is a water polo player. Smarty Jones had a stablemate. Everybody remembers Steven Strasburg, but when he did minor leagues, I just love the minor leagues, the opposing mascot making fun of him. And that was his debut. So I took, again, going back to visual IQ, back in the 70s when zoom lenses were first invented, this old picture agency called Duomo used to always do these push-pulls And I'm sure you all remember those from way back. And I was like, well, I'm going to try it tonight. And it just gave this picture more energy. Bryce Harper, he's playing in the World Series now in a different uniform. Yep. And, you know, set up where you can. Here we are. I'm in the shower of Bryce Harper. So we were at spring training doing portraits. And I just wanted to give you a sense of how we, you know, have to set up studios wherever you can find them. So this is the shower in the visiting locker room. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, how are we doing on time? Okay.
The light you have over here in front, what do you have in front there?
What, up top?
Yes.
This one here?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's just a big softbox.
Oh,
it's
okay.
probably a 48-inch softbox, and then I have two narrow softboxes
Right.
that, you know, gradiate the face. And then I don't have anything on the background, but it lights the face, and then this fills the face.
Yeah, you're
And
get his
the
eyes.
eyes.
Yeah, the eyes. I see it. It's really
Yeah, because that's what you want. You want to fill the eyes.
very nice.
Thank you. And this is after the Ravens won. I asked this kid, I said, what'd you say to your dad? He said, it's okay, Dad. It's only a game. And so Navy was playing Air Force, and they were kicking the game-winning field goal. But instead of going to the field goal, I went to find the quarterback on the bench because I wanted his reaction, win or lose. So informational picture, graphically appealing, emotional, and intimate. This has it all. How you build a picture. There's Mike. He's listening, hanging out at his house with his young son. And then it ended for him. He got knocked out by a guy named Kevin McBride. Okay, so any questions? I want to take you on a, yeah.
What lenses do you use?
Oh, I brought my bag. So I brought my roller bag, and so he asked what lenses I use. I use them all. So as many as I can.
How about we show them at the end?
Yeah,
That way.
yeah, we'll go. That's why I brought my bag, because I knew that was coming up. So, anywho, so why do we compete as humans? That was a question we posed in a sports meeting one time. Why do we compete? And so we went to look for a whole year at different ways that humans compete. And so there's this one sport, this one game that has been played for over 2 centuries in Kirkwall, Scotland. And it's called the Ba. B-A. That's it. So there's a ball, and that's the Ba, right? And so there's 2 sides of town. There's Uppies, they're from the upside of town, and there's Doonies, and they're from the downside of town. And they meet at the church square Christmas Day, and then they have at it. The ball gets thrown in, and there's 2 goals. For the Doonies, it's the harbor. For the Uppies, it's the side of a woman's house. So whoever, there's no rules, no clock, it's just a street fight with a ball. And like I said, no clock. So we went there, Eli Saslow and I. And so these stones were before Stonehenge, is from what I was told. So this is Kirkwall. So we're on the northern tip of Scotland. We're closer to the Arctic Circle than we are to London. But everything I want to do is give you a sense of place, right? Shoot pretty pictures to say, oh, that's what Kirkwall, Scotland looks like. Of course, the sheep and the old stones and the red cliffs. Beautiful scenics. And of course, we had to check out the local bars. And that's the reporter right here, Eli. And here's town. And so they put up, in the real narrow alleyways, they put up these barricades so the crowd won't go in them. And here's the storefront. They're selling BA merchandise. You can buy your own BA. You can buy a BA hat. You can buy a BA scarf, everything. And that's what a BA looks like. It's leather. It's heavy. It's like a rugby ball, but it's circular. And here's the BA Museum. Never knew there was a BA Museum, did you? Here's the uppie goal, the side of this poor woman's house. You got to slam the ball on the side of the house. If it's the Dooney win, it has to hit the water in the harbor. So here we are, Christmas morning. Here comes the uppies, or the oopies as they call them. Here comes the Doonies. And how they know who's who, I'll never, but they do. I mean, this town is isolated. I'm sure they know. So is anybody claustrophobic? Nobody's here is claustrophobic. Well, you might be after this. So they gather and they separate, they strategize and put each other all together. And they have a dignitary throw out the BA. And here it is. That's the last time I saw the BA for about 4 hours. It went into the crowd. It went down this narrow alleyway. It's in there somewhere. Somewhere it's in there. It is just a mad crush. And then people pass out in the crowd. And so what they do is try to give them water, and then people walk over the crowd and pull them out. You want me to wait?
No, please.
You sure? Oh, okay. They'll pull them out, and they'll keep going. I don't know. I have no idea. Whoever shows up.
The question was how many people were on the team.
Yeah, I have no idea. Yeah, there's no rules like that. And then you had, spectators getting every advantage they can.
How many people died?
Yeah, right? And here's Ian. He's throwing water on the boys. There's another passed out. And then here's where it gets scary. So you see where we started. We started up here at the church, and here we are 2.5 hours later. It's 2:30 now. The ball was thrown at noon. And here's where it gets scary. There's a breakout. Nobody knows where the ball is. They don't know which way to go. And so it's just pure madness. Everybody's running everywhere. And if you're, they'll just plow you over. And then they make it to the old lady's house, and here comes the ball. I saw it again. But look, it's dark. It's dark at this point. And then he was declared sort of the champion of the day. He fought harder and longer than most people in the Oopies. And so he gets the celebration of everybody coming to his house. But first, you got to go to the pub, right? So go to the pub, and we get to his house, and she's got a little ball of her own coming. And she was just like, oh my gosh, everybody's, because that was the first time the door opened, and she's looking, and the whole town's getting ready to come into her house. And then, does everybody remember when the Washington Capitals won the Stanley Cup? So here's my little Stanley Cup series. So there's Ovechkin, probably he's the top 3 scorer in all of the history of the Stanley Cup now. And remember Tom Wilson earlier, the pretty boy with the blue light behind him? That's him. He's the enforcer. That's Tom Wilson. Look at his knuckles. That guy, he's tough. Yes.
The Wilson shot was
Yep.
perfect. How many shots did you have to click? You're not just getting
Well, it's
lucky on
probably
one.
the second or third. So the question is, how many shots did I fire? I have no idea, but I could go back and count them. But as soon as they started firing, or as soon as they started fighting, I started firing. And so, and when the helmet came off, I knew it was going to be pretty good. But you never stop, because the fight keeps going on and then the game keeps going on. Yes, sir.
What kind of shutter speed do you set at about?
That's probably 1250. Yeah. Anything, it's generally these hockey arenas, they're pretty bright, so I can go 1250, 2.8, like 3200, 4000, somewhere around there. So that'll stop the action, stop the puck. Here we go, goal. Smith Pelly scoring the game winner. They win. Everybody's ecstatic. Alex Ovechkin hoists the cup. The parade going downtown. It was an epic day. And then they had a parade in Red Square in Moscow. And I went over for 4 days with Ovechkin. And we did the same thing all over again. So here he is walking through Red Square. He's like Elvis over there. Here's all the Russians out, the little kids, drinking a beer in his old club where he was a kid. And then this was my favorite because he just kind of told everybody to leave. And he just wanted to sit there and have a beer. But he didn't ask me to leave, but I didn't talk to him. I just, I'm not talking to him. I'm just sitting there and I'm being an observer. And I just love this moment because this is when, he was a little 5-year-old. He played in this arena, and now he comes back as one of the greatest hockey players in the world with the Stanley Cup. And so to me, this was just a fun little moment. And the way he's sitting on the couch and just being all alone. And then partying with the boys. That's Orlov, and that's, it'll come to me. Any hockey fans that are going to, Kuznetsov. Yep. And that is Russian caviar in the cup. And after they filled it up, everybody got to partake. And yes, I did eat caviar out of the Stanley Cup because I was asked to. I was invited. Okay, Army-Navy, greatest game ever. And when you add, so we're talking about those informational pictures that are graphically appealing and emotional. When you have an Army-Navy game, which is chock full of everything, every emotion there is, and then you add a snowstorm on it, it doesn't get any better than that. So this is my favorite Army-Navy game up in Philadelphia, and it snowed like crazy. And here's the funny thing about that. So I'm old as dirt. And when I came up, I learned how to manual focus. And I manual focus sports forever. Well, the one thing about heavy snow, if you've ever tried to shoot a bird on autofocus doesn't work in heavy snow. So all these young kids were coming in at halftime going, none of my pictures are sharp. And I'm just like, you got to go manual. Like, never done it. You just got it. So I shot manual the whole game. It's just beautiful. I mean, it adds one more level of emotion. Army wins. Informational picture that's graphically appealing and emotional. Not really intimate, but emotional. Navy lost, they feel it. Then the party. And that's the soup from West Point. They hoisted him on his shoulders. High school track. Did you know jockeys practice before they go ride the Preakness? This is up in the jockey room at Pimlico. They get on there and they have a little riding horse that they practice their moves on. High school track. I shoot a ton of high school track. This is a kid from Kansas who was trying to compete in the Iditarod. 91 World Series. There's Navy. So this is a boxing trainer. He said, my doctor, he told me I can't smoke cigars anymore. They're bad for me. He said, so I leave the plastic on. And then he laughed. I think it's a foul. What do you think? That's Missy Franklin, Olympic gold medalist swimmer, and her puppy. It's my favorite golf shot. Homecoming. Practice. I shoot a lot of practice. When it's hot, I try to make a hot picture. So I want to tell you about, I shoot a lot of high school stuff and a lot of pro stuff. And I was talking to one gentleman earlier that's shooting his grandkids' sports events. Yeah, I'm sorry I forgot your name, but yeah. So anyway, it's all about practice. But you can get the same pictures from a high school game that you can a pro game. So here's a high school game. Here's a pro game. High school, pro. Exactly the same picture. High school, pro. College, pro. High school, the Olympics. T-ball, high school, pro baseball, pro football. The exact same pictures. But it's all those games that I shot, all those high school games that I've photographed over and over and over. So when it comes time, when I go to the Olympics, I'm ready because I've done it 1,000 times. And so my muscle memory and my visual IQ are all firing on all cylinders, I hope. How are we doing on time? We good? We good? I'm sorry?
6 minutes to 8.
Okay. So anyway, we're going to end with this. So this is the Rio Olympics. So everybody know the Redeemer statue, the favelas, the harbors, the pollution. Everybody was talking about that with the Rio Olympics. And so this favela is called the City of God. And they in the 50s, they took all these poor people from the inner city and they built them a brand new place away from the city. And they nicknamed it the City of God because they said we're so far away from everything, God doesn't know where we are. And so the city grew out, but it's one of the most notorious favelas in the world. And the first day of the Olympics, a young woman from the City of God won a gold medal in judo. And so we went, a reporter and I, and we had an interpreter, we went to find her family. So we walked through the City of God and walked out. There's the beach. I just wanted to add that as comparison. That's Copacabana. But here's the City of God. And here's the house, and the father, and everybody's coming out. Flying kites. And this is downtown. But I wanted to go back and forth, show you city and then city of God to see what the comparisons are. Security forces. Now, this guy was in a favela. There were 300 families, and they told him all to leave. We're going to build you new houses. And this guy wouldn't, because they wanted to build the media village on top of his house. But he wouldn't leave. So he fought it, and you see this back here? That's the Marriott, where all the journalists stayed. And so they put a wall up, and that's the media center. All those buildings there are the media center. And then I went to his daughter did get one of the new houses, so I went over there with him, and he has a special needs grandson. And then opening night, and then media not being very friendly to each other after the game because the buses were a mess. Sometimes it rains. She got a 10 on that vault. That was her perfect vault. Simone Hussein. I covered this girl in high school. There's Hussein, just insane. This kid went to Broadneck High School, Matt Senchowitz, and he won the gold in the 1500. Anne Arundel County's finest. And there he is. He's a good kid. Okay, and so this is one of those funny, it was wrestling, so the Mongolians thought they won. And then there was a judging. The judges went the other way because they thought he celebrated too soon. So they took a point away from him. And so he ended up losing. And so the coach lost his mind and took off his clothes in the middle of the ring. And the Mongolian was in despair. So the thrill of victory, the agony of defeat and the thrill of victory. And there's PG County finest, Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant showing off his gold medal. Simone Biles. The can't miss kid from LA. He missed. He lost. And that's his reaction. And then he walked right by me, and I was afraid to take the picture because I thought he'd slug me. But he was crying. I don't think he ever saw me. And those are tears of joy. He was something else. Remember Missy, the dog girl? Missy Franklin with her dog, that's her. And Katie Ledecky. So I went up high to show how absolutely dominant she is from the rest of everybody else. She is unbelievable. And there she is, down low. And then she's just away from the crowd. So, thank you for having me. Yeah, we're in an hour, so we'll stop there.
Why don't you go ahead and show your gear?
Okay. So I have a roller bag, and I can carry this on the airplanes. So I'll bring it over here.
You need a chair.
It'll be all right. So that's how I pack it. This has a 2 to 4. Okay, and so then I have 2 bodies down here, and there's a 70 to 200. There's a 14, 24 to 70, and my new favorite lens, it's a piece of beauty, is a 105, 1.4. It's just gorgeous. It's just a gorgeous piece of glass. I use it for portraits. But that's, and then I keep a, I keep a 1.4 up here. 2 D6s and 1 D5. Yep. And I don't know which one's which. That's the 6. So, and I usually keep them on JPEG medium and anywhere from 10 to 14 frames a second when I'm shooting sports, but I'll slow it down if I'm doing something different. So that's that. JPEG, just JPEG. I don't have any room to store all that stuff. I mean, so if I'm doing a rocket launch, I'll shoot RAW because sometimes the latitude of all the exposure, and I can save it a little bit, but that's pretty much it. So like I said, I can roll that on the airplane, put it in the overhead bin, and I don't have to worry about checking my bags. Yeah.
Yeah, another question again.
Yeah.
You know, when you're shooting sports, and, you have to get those pictures out or else somebody's going to beat you.
Right.
How do you do it?
On my laptop, and I just so we use a program called Photomechanic. So I can show you here.
I mean, you don't physically take. Are you radioing out to somebody? Somebody helping you? Or are you doing this?
No, I'm doing it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, generally. I mean, but if it's a late game, what we can do is take a 5G hotspot and hardwire it right into the D6 and transmit it right to DC, right into our server.
You got any time to edit?
But like,
if that's
yeah, no, most of the
right,
time,
you don't worry about that, do you?
yeah. Like at a Nats game, I'll have my computer in the dugout with me and, transmit in between images or in between innings. And I'm pretty quick, but it's 37 years of practice. So I can slam through pictures in a hurry. But that's just repetition. Again, it's repetition. It's just doing it over and over and over and over. I'm a lot quicker now than I was. So, but getting the captions right, writing the captions takes me longer than anything. So, yeah.
That's actually what I was.
Yep.
That's actually what I was going to ask. Who writes the captions?
Well, I write a basic caption, and then we have God Bless America copy editors. And I praise their glory every time because they make me look wicked smart, which I'm not, But they're really, really, we have really good copy editors at the Washington Post. I praise them a lot. Yes. Yep.
And why does it seem that the captions are simply quotes from the article?
Oh, that's a style thing. You can invite the copy desk chief. She lives in Bowie, so I'll bring her next time. You can ask her. But 17 at the Washington Post. Yeah, we used to be higher, but we're a lean, mean fighting machine now. So, but we're doing, the best we can with what we got.
For those online, the question was, how many photographers are there at the Washington Post?
Yep. Yeah, so 17 staff photographers. Yes, sir.
How many photographers, when you go to the Washington game?
A commander's game.
Yeah. I'm saying Washington, I didn't say.
Right, yeah.
Okay. When you're out there, do they give you a certain area that you cover and there's other photographers taking care of the other sides, or you run up and down?
Yeah, the question is, yeah, you were mic'd up. Yeah, so we play a zone defense. So we'll flip a coin at the beginning, and I'll use a visual aid, I think. So here's the football field, right?
Yeah.
So we'll have a photographer assigned to this end zone, right? And we'll have a photographer assigned to this end zone. And so if the ball is going that way, this photographer stays right there, and this photographer will trail the play in case of a fumble or an interception and a return. But once they get inside the red zone, then we'll come and that photographer will sit in the middle, in between the pylons, right in the center of the end zone. And this photographer will stay put. So depending on what side of the end zone it goes to, we're generally have it. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, you
Yeah.
have to do something, because I couldn't imagine you guys running back and forth.
Right, no.
Not dropping something.
Yeah, my knees feel it, that's for sure.
When you're shooting those games with the big lenses, are you, I imagine you're on a monopod.
Yeah, monopod.
You're down low. You're
Yep.
down real low, right?
Yeah, and the monopod fits in my bag, thankfully, because the less stuff I have to carry, the better.
Because I see so many of them. Everybody's down so low.
Yeah, you know what? I used to kneel. I don't kneel anymore. Sorry. I don't. Yes? Yeah, with the big lens. Yeah, so, it just helps me stabilize and be steady and being able to, move with the play. Because a lot of times, I don't know, so when I'm shooting football or baseball, I don't look through the camera when the play starts. I look over. And the reason is because if it's a big play, if it's a pass, I'll see that he drops back and I'll go, oh, it's a pass. And so I'll look and I'll see where he's throwing the ball. And then, so it's kind of like shooting skeet. Have you ever shot skeet? So you have to have your shotgun down and they say pull, and those little orange things go flying out. And then you go boom. And so that's how I shoot baseball. That's how I shoot football. It's kind of like the skeet mentality. I'll wait to see what the play is, and then I'll go. So if it's a running play, if they hand it off, all right, I'll find the running back. And if it's a pass play, I'll find the receiver. Because if I'm doing this and my vision is narrowed to 1/400th, I can't see the field. And so that's why I never look through the camera at the start of a play. I'll just watch it. Use your whole field of vision to be able to see it. Yes, hi. Yeah. Sometimes when so the question was manual mode. Sometimes when the light gets really tricky, like if it's an afternoon game and there's a deep shadow on one side of the field and a bright light over here, I'll go to auto ISO, and it'll change the ISO. If I go, at least I'll have something. It won't be perfect, but I'll have something. I'll have the picture. Yes?
So this is a different department, but who judges the annual travel photography contests?
Oh, they bring in a whole bunch of celebrities, people from different departments, and they mix it up every year to get fresh views, fresh eyes. So it's a different crew every year. So, but our department is in charge of it, and along with the features department, and we always have the same our director of photography and stuff. But they bring in all kinds of people, different eyeballs, different points of view. which makes it great.
Are you guys going mirrorless anytime soon?
I shoot what they give me. So if they decide I'm going mirrorless, I'm going mirrorless. Because when I first got here, we were all Canon. And then 2007, they said, we're all Nikon. So I had to learn a whole new system. So we've been Nikon since 2007. And a lot of people have now gone to Sony and/or the Z9s or whatever, but I don't care. The mirror, a lot of people think it's the noise reduction, you never hear the shutter, whatever. I can't hear anyway, so it doesn't bother me. So. Anybody else? Well, like I said, I could talk all night, but thank you all.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Get ready to end me,
We
Chris.
really appreciate you. Hey, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Jonathan, for coming out.
Yep.
Christine had some, when's the field trip? Is the field trip? The 19th.
Where, y'all
And
going
next week is our digital contest, right? Digital contest. Make sure to check out an email from our contest team for all your information there. And with that, I'm going to say good night. Thank you, everybody, for coming out.